Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, after hearing from you on the phone-in segment about regional development commissions, it is time to take a closer look at their impact on national development. Now, regional development commissions, or RDCs, were established to drive equitable growth across Nigeria's regions, promoting infrastructure, industrialization, and economic opportunities where they are needed most. Now, agencies like Niger Delta Development Commission and the Northeast Development Commission have delivered roads, schools, and empowerment programs targeting local challenges in their zones. More recently, the government has expanded this model to the northwest, southeast and south while setting up the Ministry of Regional Development to oversee all commissions. Now, yet, despite these efforts, RDCs face persistent criticism. Corruption, political interference, high operational costs, and low project completion rates have left many questioning their overall effectiveness. Our studies should suggest billions of naira have gone unaccounted for, and some projects remain abandoned or stalled, raising concerns about whether these commissions truly serve the people or political interests. Now, today we asked, are RDCs contributing meaningfully in national development, or are they just another layer of bureaucracy? Now, joining us virtually from Kaduna is Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, a technocrat, politician, public affairs commentator, and former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, to help us unpack these issues and offer insight on how RDCs can better deliver on their mandate. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Baba-Ahmed.
Good morning, ladies. You guys are doing a great job. Good morning.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, let's dive right into it. Regional development commissions. We have seen now the culmination of different regional commissions now under one umbrella. Now, in a short explanation, can you give us how important it is to have this kind of commission and what impact it can give to, diversity when it comes to different issues of different regions, and understanding how important it is to implement it?
Well, thank you again for inviting me to make a contribution on this important issue. I think that I've listened in the last half hour to the people who have phoned in. A lot of them have made very important contributions. The point, I think, the useful point to start here is to go back and think, how did we get into this Regional Development Commission in the first place? That's important because the first Regional Development Commission, which is the NDDC, North Niger Delta Development Commission, was created as part of a package to resolve the issue of militancy and restiveness and claims of marginalization and exploitation by the people in the south part of the country by the late President Erdogan. So it was a creation of a political and economic challenge. Whether it worked well or not, it would have taken a number of years to go. But from day one, there was this idea that something had gone wrong. The NDDC was being accused of being hijacked by politicians. The communities were not receiving benefits of the creation of NDDC. 2 or 3 years down the road, I was still in government then. We undertook a thorough study of the of why these problems are still manifesting. And you know what we found out? We have a federal system. You have federal government, you have state governments, you have local governments. These are the bodies that constitutionally are empowered to deal with issues about economic development, welfare of the citizen, and to some extent security at the federal government, but in collaboration with other arms of government. So when you create a layer that doesn't really have a constitutional place, it has a place in law because it was created as an instrument of law. You duplicate responsibilities. You send a huge amount of money to a development commission. States are complaining of being understaffed. Local governments virtually get nothing except what the governors give them. And what you end up with is a situation where you give the impression that you've created a development commission. States are involved in development. Federal government is involved in development. Local governments are involved in development. So what you've done, you're creating monsters. You send huge amounts of money and tell people, take this money, go and develop a whole zone, meaning 5 or 6 in where I come from, in the northwestern part of the country, 7 states. Undefined objectives, largely political creation, massive amounts of money, poor oversight, literally between them and the National Assembly. So that's how you end up with this. Now, NDDC now, when the Northeast crisis grew, then they created the Northeast Development Commission. And now suddenly everybody is saying, oh, me too, I want one, I want one, I want one. And they've gone around and created 6 of such commissions. Now, again, let me remind you, these zones are actually political creations. They don't have a place in our constitutions. People just drew lines around a number of states and said, this is the Northwest Zone, this is the Northeast Zone, this is the North Central Zone, Southwest, South, South, Southeast. They don't have a place in our constitution. They are creations of political interests. And so they are treated exactly by the same interests that created them. They are basically to say to people, okay, Northwest, you didn't have a development commission. We'll create one for you. To do what? There's a lot of things they can do. But why do you need to spend this amount of money when you can channel this money specifically to projects, to issues, to challenges, to problems, or even through state governments, selected state governments? Take the Northwest now, which is now the one that is in the news because a few days ago, the Northwest Development Commission held its first summit here in Kaduna. It opened a whole can of worms. This is a commission that was created just, I think, about a little bit longer than a year. Last year, they received absolutely nothing. This is the Northwest, 7 states, 7. They have the biggest, the largest insecurity issue, the largest economic underdevelopment issue, the largest level of destitution, the largest number of children out of school, the largest votes for politicians who are interested in this, the worst of all indices. Now, you would think if there was any sincerity behind the creation of the Northwest Development Zone, by now, this commission would be swimming in money. There will be a lot of ideas and they will have priorities. What is it that you need to address in the Northwest? Insecurity or its effects, for instance. The military and the police and the intelligence agencies are fighting insecurity. What do the state governments and the Northwest Development Commission supposed to do? They can address the issue of destitution arising from the activities of bandits and kidnappers and people who just simply chase villagers away. We have them all over the city in the Northwest. But you don't have a single IDP or any relief targeted at people who have been displaced. They can't stay in their villages. They can't farm. They can't stay anywhere. They can't stay with relations because the relations are also on the run. Then after they created them, they never give them a kobo. The whole of last year, nobody funded, nothing was funded, was sent to the Northwest Development Commission. So it comes down to the question, what are you creating these commissions for? You have 7 state governments here. They get their statutory allocations, they get special funding for whatever. But what are you creating them for if you are not going to give them resources and the political clout to do something? So the point I'm making is it's difficult to assess the value or the waste of regional development commissions unless you understand what it is that they're supposed to do, and if they're doing it well. My conclusion is we just got up in this nonsense that federal government will create state regional development commission just simply to address political pressure. When they do, they have so little money to give them, and these guys are sitting there thinking, well, State governments will do it, local governments will do it.
So now,
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Baba-Ahmed, if I get your explanation at this point, is that it seems like these commissions are redundant. There is no use in creating them since there are state governments, there are local governments who can address the issues that they're supposedly supposed to address. So now, trying to understand what these regional development commissions can bring to the table, since they've already been put together and monies have been put out when it comes to, for example, the Northeast Development Commission, where in 2022, 100 billion naira was said to have been mismanaged, misused. Now, with these kind of funds given to them and that being misused, what are the repercussions of these type of incidents to these regions when a large sum of money is given and could actually be used for something that can benefit those regions? How can it pan out?
Well, I think to be again, I get back to the point. Don't create an organ, charge it with development, and then either leave it without money or with inadequate supervision or without some strong organic linkages between that organ and state governments and federal government and a strong monitoring mechanism. Otherwise, you're just throwing good money to waste. That's the basic issue. Now, again, it's very difficult to compare NDDC, Northeast Development Commission, with the North Central Development Commission, Northwest Development Commission. It's very difficult. These commissions, as I said, are products of crisis and conflict and political and economic challenges. There's no zone, for instance, that now, as we speak, there's no zone that has more, that is more deserving in terms of funding for certain things. But then you have to ask your question, should the federal government sit down with the governors of the 7 states and say, look, we understand that in Zamfara, in Katsina, in Kaduna, in Sokoto, in Kebbi, there are massive numbers of people who are just roaming around because they've been chased away, they've been uprooted. Can we do something for them? Between the federal government and the state governments, if they're sincere, they can do a lot. What are they doing, for instance, to resettle some of these people? Relocate them. What are they doing to help them to farm? Oh, these are just basically farmers. All they want are inputs at the beginning of the season, place to farm, peas to farm, and that's it. That's all they ask the state. So you need prioritization. When you prioritize the needs of the people of the Northwest, you now go back and say, well, what can we do? We are the federal government. We create a development commission. We don't fund it. State government say, well, this is your problem. This is why they didn't turn up at the summit in Kaduna a few days ago. They don't see their role in terms of the Development Commission in the Northwest. Otherwise, they would have been there. So there's poor conception, there's poor design, and there's poor implementation, and there's no political will to make these commissions work. And so they're of no value, certainly in the Northwest. And I can tell you, honestly, in the North Central and even in the Northeast now, with all these allegations about corruption and abuse of the resources, we need to get back to ask, are we wasting money just simply creating commissions so that we can satisfy this, this Nigerian thing that, oh, he has it, I want some, I want it as well. This is the problem we have. We want help in the Northwest region. We want investment into the lives of people. We want to improve the welfare of the people. We want to resettle women and children, particularly who are roaming our streets all over the place because they have nowhere to stay. They can't stay in their villages. They can't stay with relations. They leave Katsina, they leave Zamfara, and they come into places like Kaduna and Kano, and you see them. These are citizens of this country, for goodness sake. They deserve some help. They deserve some attention. But who's supposed to do it? When you create the commissions, federal government says, oh, commission, do it. State government say, oh, but you have a commission, so we don't need to do anything.
Dr. Baba-Ahmed, based on the responses we got from our callers this morning, I mean, it is clear to say that most communities in Nigeria are not feeling the effect of this regional development commissions, because they are there to, cushion the plights of Nigerians. And this is where accountability comes in, because if there are huge funding in these commissions and still Nigerians cannot be able to, reap the dividends, then it shows that there is a problem. But then we need to, know who to hold accountable and how Nigerians can be, able to go through this. So do you think Nigeria currently has, strong systems to track what these commissions spend and what citizens actually get in return?
I think the first question to ask is, do you really need a commission in every part of this country? Jigawa has, thank God, Jigawa has very little insecurity, for instance. The farmers are farming, communities are settled. If Jigawa doesn't feel the impact of the Northwest Development Commission, you're likely to have somebody say, okay, break it down. Let me see what you are spending in Jigawa State. I don't think that this idea of just simply creating governance institutions just to satisfy political goal is working. We don't need to do this. If the federal government, which creates these commissions, identifies specific, located problems that have to do with human development, security, consequences of security, extreme cases of underdevelopment, the federal government has more than enough institutions to channel resources and apply its monitoring and evaluation mechanisms there. But when you politicize this and just simply say, okay, create one for them too, but don't come to us for money unless we have it. And then you raise hopes that, we now have a development commission. State governments sit back and they just say, it's not our problem. You can see federal government is very rich. They're sending all this money. The point is, even the federal government, for monitoring how its money is spent, evaluating the impact of how this money is spent, and corruption is rampant all over the country. Oversight by the National Assembly is very weak and is compromised. So do you need to create an additional layer that just simply reinforces the problem rather than solve it? We need to put back these commissions back on the table. If you give me a choice between having the Northwest Commission to continue to exist in the manner it exists and a very good idea by the federal government in collaboration with the state government that says there are peculiarities in Katsina, for instance, and Zamfara. Huge numbers of communities are going under because bandits have taken over those territories. They have a security problem, they have an economic problem, they have a social problem. What can we do in specific terms that can help those communities in some of these states? In the Northwest, Jigawa and Kano have slightly different problems. What can we do about them? And this is where you need the governors. You don't just sit back and say, okay, federal government is bringing money into development commissions. Look at what happened in Kaduna a few days ago. They convened a huge summit to discuss the Northwest Development Commission. And the idea was good. Bring it to the people, go to Kaduna, open it up, get inputs, get ideas, get experts to speak, get leaders to speak. But what happened? Not a single governor was there. And it tells you a lot. Either the governors of the Northwest don't really care at all about the welfare and economic progress of their people, or they understand exactly what this is about. These development commissions mean nothing. We don't need to be there. Otherwise, they should be in the front row telling these commissions, I have this program, come and help me here. Or I can help you with this problem. We can sharpen the focus of these commissions. We can help you with ideas and suggestions, so we advise you to do that. Not one of the 7 governors was in attendance. A very well attended meeting, which ended up in a very undignified manner. So it tells you something. If the governors themselves don't support this, The federal government is content with just creating a state, telling them, go to Kano, settle there, and then they spend a whole year without a kobo, quarreling between themselves, which office to sit, which office not to sit. Then they come to Kaduna, and the governor said, we have other things to do. Doesn't that tell you exactly what these commissions are? They are political creations.
All right. Now, Dr. Baba-Ahmed, at this point, looking at all the problems, it is quite understandable to look for solutions. I would ask for your perspective. Do you think that these commissions that have been created could be used or could go towards the direction of being able to advise when it comes to different states in those regions, as well as, prefer solutions to different problems that are there, instead of them being there in charge of those regions, in charge of projects, in charge of different issues that allocations have to be given to them, and then those allocations would be mismanaged. So if those commissions could be there in an advisory, I would say, level, whereby they could sit with governors and have a conversation and understand, or maybe share ideas, as well as be there as some sort of an accountability commission, whereby they hold them accountable for projects, for things that they're meant to do for the people of their state, for the region as well.
A serious government would actually just go back and put all this idea of this commission on the table and ask, do we really need a commission, a development commission? And if we do, where should it be? And specify why we need it, how it will deal with the challenges that we place before it, how other tiers of government, federal, state, and local government will key into its projects, and how it can reinforce this. This idea of having development commissions everywhere simply because there was one in the South and one in the Northeast is nonsense. It's a waste of time. Now that we've gone this way and we are finding serious problems of corruption, of ineffectiveness, of just not knowing what to do, a serious government would say, okay, hold it, call back these commissions, put them on the table. But the people to do that have to be people on their toes who are thinking and monitoring what is going on, and not just simply looking at them as cash cows. So my advice, the first advice I will give, perhaps to the next government, is to say, look at these commissions all over the country in the first place. Look at the amount of money you are sending to them. Who is asking what they are spending this money on? Who is monitoring them? Where are these monies going to? What process do you have on the ground that allows you to go to the street or go to the village or whatever and ask people, have you felt the impact of this? If you don't, like I said at the beginning of my contribution, these commissions don't have a constitutional place. A federal system is very expensive. You have a federal government, you have a state government, you have a local government. Nigeria is one of the very few countries that have 3 tiers of government in the world. In the world, 3. A lot of federal systems have only 2, federal and state. We have 3. That makes it very expensive. So cost of governance is huge. Now you come and establish a commission, a development commission, the very thing the government is trying to do. Ladies, let me remind you, the Constitution says that the Nigerian state is responsible to the citizen in 2 key areas: secure him and facilitate his economic welfare. Federal government is doing that. State government federal government is supposed to be doing that. States are supposed to be doing that. Local governments are supposed to be doing that. Now, these commissions represent an indictment on all the 3 organs of government. If you have to create an institution and say, go and develop that community, what are the other organs of government supposed to do? Including the federal government, which is now funding another agency of development when it is there to develop for such places. So put it on the table, ask serious questions. Are they worth it? If they're not, scrape them and then find ways in which you can channel resources and ideas into specific areas. Like I said, in the Northwest, our biggest problem is that we have a largely farming population that cannot farm simply because security has made it impossible for them to farm. And when they farm, like in the last 2 years, Government opens the borders, brings in cheap food, and people find that they're losing a lot of money. They can't even feed themselves. They are farmers, but they can't, even those who can farm. These are the kind of critical thinking that should go into this. So what can we do as a government? What is the nexus between insecurity and economic backwardness? What is the problem with all these people roaming around the streets? Why are we seeing all these women and children on the streets? There are reasons. You don't need a commission to deal with this issue. A healthy collaboration between federal government and state governments and local governments and communities will solve this problem. But when you throw good money after bad, this is what you get.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, for shedding so much light, on the regional development commissions that we do have in Nigeria.
Thank you for speaking with us.
You're welcome.